Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Vuvu and this is Vuvu Reads. If you are new on here, please consider pressing the red subscribe button down below. And if you're a returnee, a member of the fam bam, the vibe with the vibe, welcome back fam, and thank you for joining me once more. And as the title suggests, today I'm bringing you a wrap up of all the books I read in June. So Vuvu_Reads is an amazing book reviewer, also YouTuber. She reviews books on YouTube, and if I'm not mistaken, she also has a blog as well. So please, if for your connection with literature, get in touch with or follow at VUVUVENA_reads. She is based in South Africa, and I think it is also extremely important to follow literary content creators who are based outside of the West and in continental Africa, because they do a really good job of bridging the gap.
We appreciate you, Vuvu, for bringing us Turning Pages and for bringing us your BookTube channel.
You know, this is a chance for people to actually see some people that I really enjoy.
Please consider pressing the red subscribe button down below. And if you're a returnee, welcome back, fam.
Vuvu, you're amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Oh my gosh, what a snack. So I think I read 10 books in June. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I read 10 books in June, and I'm here to tell you all about that, okay, child? So June was Pride Month, right? And in as much as I feel like if you have the opportunity, if they are there on your shelf or in your radar, definitely do pick up any books by authors that are within the Rainbow Tribe, or books that have representation of the Rainbow Tribe. So that is like your alphabet gang, you know who I'm talking about, the LGBTQ plus, yeah, okay. So whenever you get a chance, especially those authored by Black people within that community, I think that there's a lot you could learn from that. And I absolutely loved what I was exposed to by picking up the various books that I did. I've read from this rainbow community before, but I just decided to be a little bit more intentional in June, and I absolutely enjoyed the journey. So most of what you'll see, if it's not 50% or a little bit more than 50% of what you're going to see here, is definitely going to have some rainbow representation. So if you have any of these books in your radar, obviously you don't have to wait till next June. Pick it up, read it, you will not be disappointed. So I feel like I should share the non-rainbow books first and then finish off with the rainbow books. So if you know anything about me, you know that I am binging series this year. This is exactly what I've told myself I'm going to do, and I've been enjoying it to no degree. I can't even compare how much fun I'm having this year with my book selections compared to the previous years, just because I am definitely reading stuff that I want to read and going back to some stuff that I have loved reading before in the past. Not rereads as such, but just in terms of genre and things that I've been curious about previously. So this month, or rather June's series pick was none other than, drum roll, I'm just trying to get the order right, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. So so that's what I picked up. I am currently listening to the 4th book, which came out a few years back, which is A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, or something along those lines. I do not have the hard copy of that, so I'm sure a lot of people know about this book. It probably needs no introduction, but The Hunger Games is basically a dystopian novel or series that follows Katniss and Peter, who are selected from various districts within this made-up world, where they have to basically undergo a tournament where 12 people kill each other because there are 12 districts, and then there's the capital. No one from the capital gets chosen because those are the leaders of the society, but everybody else from the districts is put into this tournament, or two representatives are put into this tournament to remind the districts not to rebel, and what would happen if they rebel against the capital. So Katniss's sister gets chosen for the, I don't know how many Hunger Games, because it's been going on for a while, okay? So that she gets chosen for this Hunger Games, and if you do not want somebody who is dear to you to be chosen, you can volunteer yourself to take their place. So this is how Katniss gets into the Hunger Games, and from then on it is basically a tale of power, a story about love, about friendship, about human survival, about what it really actually means for humanity, and how in the specific society the understanding of humanity, especially in the capital where they are governed, has really deteriorated to the worst degree. What I absolutely loved about Suzanne's writing in these books is that it's so vivid. You get to see exactly how warped human minds can be, especially I think she displays it so well in the exterior of her characters, so how they dress, their makeup, and just the surroundings as well. She manages to show you just how different the capital is from District 1, how District 1 is different from District 12, how District 12 is different from District 2. Even in the people that represent those various districts within the Hunger Games, you get to see different traits of humanity, if we are being honest, right, playing out in these various characters' lives. And at the end of the day, the fight is about preserving humanity. So I absolutely loved book one. I rated 4.5 stars. It was everything that I needed at that point in time, and it gave me everything that I would want out of a YA dystopian. Absolutely loved what they did with Peter and Katniss's story. Like I'm saying, I can't fault book one at all. It was 4.5 stars. Obviously I can fault it a little bit if it's 4.5, so there was something that didn't give to my satisfaction, right? I just wanted a little bit more from Susan, but I also understood that this book is mainly targeted at YA audience, and maybe what I wanted from the book would have required the genre to change a little bit. So I get it, kind of, sort of, but 4.5 was what it got. So I don't want to ramble too much about the next two books in the series that I did finish, but what I do want to let you guys know is that for me personally, if you are going to write a series, I really pray in my heart of hearts that your books actually get better. Every book that comes out is better than the last, because for me that's always been my intrigue. It's always been the thing that has kept me reading series, and unless obviously I've got them on my shelf and they're already there for me to read, so then that's a different story. I will continue reading them even though my heart is sinking every time it seems like you are giving me less than what I asked for. Okay, so the next book in the series was Catching Fire by obviously Suzanne. This is a follow-up from the Hunger Games. Because of the twist ending at the end of the Hunger Games, you get to realize that, okay, something might be boiling, but you are hoping for freedom at the end of it. However, the events that transpire in Catching Fire are quite, they have the shock factor, and I think for me that's why I enjoyed book two. So it still kept me in that realm. It still kept me in the fight. It still gave me a little bit of Katniss and Peter's story, but in a different light, and I absolutely love how it played out. I will say though that this was not as lovely for me as book one was, so I did rate Catching Fire 4 out of 5 stars, and for me that 5 points was not so bad in terms of a rate down, if you get what I'm trying to say. I was gonna be a little bit concerned if book 2 then ended up being like a 3.5 or a 3, since book 1 was a 4.5, but 4 from 4.5 is not so bad. But like I'm saying, it was not my favorite is what I'm trying to communicate, and it wasn't as good as the Hunger Games, okay, but it was good enough. So that was what book 2 got. Book 3, child, because of how book 2, so Suzanne has these cliffhanger moments, these twists at the end of her books that are quite brilliant, but I feel like the execution, the follow-up for me is not as satisfactory as they could have been. Okay, so book 3 definitely is my least favorite. That is Mockingjay. So we still follow we are now post, okay, basically we're now post Hunger Games, and we're still following obviously Peter and Katniss, but we're not within the arena where the Hunger Games actually play out. And at this point I suppose that it's rebellion 101. They are trying to make sure that they can still salvage whatever is left of their community. And listen, it's a good addition to the series, right? I really don't think that it is well executed. I don't know how to explain this, because from where you took us in book 1 to where we went in book 2 and then book 3. I feel for me it was very long-winded. I feel for me there were parts where as the reader I felt exhausted. I needed the story to end. I got the basic premise. I wanted to see where things would go, but in terms of action, she still delivers on the action. In terms of the nature of a dystopian society, that still comes out. In terms of the ending and what it actually means, it does leave you thinking. So it's not a horrible book. It's just that I don't feel for me that the gratification was as strong as it was in books 1 and 2. So this one I did give a very weak 4, but if I'm being honest, it's probably a 3.5. Okay, so that's the series that I got into, and I'm currently reading the 4th book, like I'm saying, and to be honest, that one is my least favorite. I don't want to lie, I don't quite understand why it had to be done, but perhaps when I get to the end I'll try and understand what the actual holistic meaning of it all is. But I'm not satisfied. Okay, I am not gratified, I am not happy, but I am soldiering on. The next book that I did pick up, well, it's not like I picked it up in June. Okay, it's a book that I've been trying to read. It's one of those books that I had open for It's one of those books that I had open for quite a bit and was struggling to finish, but I did eventually finish it, and I absolutely loved the trip. I wasn't struggling because the book was bad, but it does have elements of heaviness in it, and it took me a while. It always takes me a while to digest books of that nature, and the book I'm talking about is The Girl with the Louding Voice by Abi Dari. This was a pick for the Vuvu Reads book club. If you are curious about that book club, I always leave the link in the description box. It is a book club that runs over on Facebook. Very lenient, very laid back. I just share the books that I would like us to read together. If you want us to discuss it, you'll just raise your hand in the group. Otherwise, I try and facilitate some discussions, but it is nothing that is strict, if you get what I'm trying to say. So when I do see that there hasn't been a pickup on a certain book, we still continue to read that book. Those of us who want to, and those of us who want to discuss, will then raise their hands for discussion. Okay, I'm sure you understand. But in this specific book, we follow Aduni is the daughter of I want to say her mom sells food, basically a street vendor of sort, to be able to put food on the table as well as to take her kids through education. Aduni has 2 brothers and she's the only girl in this family. Her mom soon passes on, and as the girl in this family, oh sorry, this is by a Nigerian author, and I feel like this is a debut. Yes, and you know how I feel about debuts, right? So and you know how I feel about Nigerian authors, they can tell a story, child. So she passes on, and Aduni, because of the nature of that society that she's born into, in order to keep the family afloat and well fed, the father decides that he will marry her off to an older man. And this is the journey of Aduni, who is in actual fact deep down in her heart, at the core of her being, a feminist who does not even understand why girl children don't go to school in that society, why being married off to an old man who has so many wives already is a solution for hunger for her family, who has a different dream for herself, and is a girl who feels like her voice should be heard. So it is quite a sad story, this journey that she takes, because she manages to go through various obstacles in her life that led her up to the foot of, I want to say, grace and kindness, only because she fought so hard. And in between, obviously, you're gonna get triggers of abuse, triggers of injustice, as well as you could even call it statutory rape, right? So there might be triggers of rape in here. However, I think that the thing that carries this book and the story, obviously, is the narration first of all, but also is the strength of our main character and how well written they are, and that character development that comes from it. So it is one of those that is told in a, or rather the written English in the book is not conventional, in the sense that our main character is not well educated and we're looking at life through their lens. So you get a little bit, it's not necessarily even dialect, it's just that her English is broken, if you want to call it that. And the story is told through that form of language throughout, which is something that adds a layer of such beauty in the story. Initially, I don't want to lie to you, it was not something that I completely enjoyed, but it was not a hard thing to get into. And eventually, as the character grows on you, so does her language. I'm not sure if that's making sense, but I absolutely loved this one. I rated it a 4 out of 5 stars. So now we are left with the queer books that I picked up for Pride Month, and in no particular order, I'll start with the non-fiction queer book that I picked up, and this is Dear Sintharan, a Black Spirit memoir by Akweke Amezi. They don't need any introduction. They are also a Nigerian author, and this is their first non-fiction offering, like, yeah, memoir or whatever you want to call it. And in this one, they give us a peek into their lives through the formation of various letters to various people within their lives. So you get to understand how they became who they are, what they went through to become who they are, how they define themselves, and just their whole outlook and interpretation of life. This one I don't want to talk too much about because I've got a lot of conflict within me regarding how this was laid out and the revelations into the author's lives and what it is that a reader should be taking out. I really feel like this was very self-indulgent on the author's part, and I think for that it was not an enjoyable read for me. I feel like it was tainted with a lot of blame or victim mentality in the way in which they were telling their story, as well as, I don't want to lie, I want to say that I also picked up elements of arrogance, which I don't mind to a certain degree. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say, but I don't know if I'm communicating it well. But for me, there were moments where this read was not as pleasurable as it could have been, and at the end of it, at times I felt like I'm not sure what I should have taken out of this as a reader, rather than being given some kind of a vicarious look through, it's kind of like voyeuristic even, look through your life that I don't know if I've benefited anything from it, if you hear what I'm trying to say. However, their story is very interesting. It does not take away from the fact that there is intrigue in what they are telling us through this memoir. So if you are somebody who does read memoirs for intrigue, for trying to understand life through somebody else's perspective, etc., this might be enjoyable for you. But for me, I felt like something was lacking and I couldn't quite close that gap. So I did end up rating this one at 3.8. I'm sure that is self-explanatory. Yeah. So the next queer book that I picked up is this collection of short stories that was gifted to me for review purposes by Blackbird Books here in South Africa. This is called Exhale, queer African erotic fiction, and it is written by a number of authors. Some of them are South Africans, but obviously since it says African, they're from all over the continent, and like it says, it is filled with erotica, child. Okay, if I could give one piece of advice, because I did gobble this one up during one of our reading sprints, but if I could give one piece of advice to you guys, I would say please do not read this in one sitting, because child, the erotica becomes nauseating. Okay, it gets up to here. You really do need to nibble through this one, even though it's an easy read. I want to actually give kudos to the authors. The stories are so well crafted, so well written, so diverse in the storylines, and they do actually give a lot of insight into queer erotica and how the physical part of queer relationships will sometimes play out. And because it is fiction, it is layered with a lot of imagination, as well as, I suppose, some commentary in the political and societal elements of these kind of stories. So you will get gay erotica, lesbian erotica, transgender erotica, and those few elements where people are discovering if they have a preference for the same sex or not. And I absolutely love that it was holistic in that sense. I enjoyed this quite a bit. However, like I'm saying, some stories were stronger than others, and for that reason I ended up rating this one at 3.5 stars. And then I've already done a vlog on this one. The final 4 books that I read. So the final 4 books that I read were part of a series, and this is the Heartstopper series by Alice Osman. If I can focus. Oh, child. Okay, so they were part of a series that's the Heartstopper series by Alice Osman, which I absolutely loved. And the weird thing about this one is that I loved the Netflix adaptation more than I actually enjoyed the books. But let me tell you about these books, child, because child. So this was a graphic novel, like I think, obviously, like I've explained in the what's this thing, in the vlog. So if you have not watched that vlog yet, please do head over there and watch it after this. So the first book was an introduction for us to the main characters in the series, that being I always want to say Matt, and no one here is Matt. It's Charlie and Nick. So we were being introduced to Charlie and Nick in book 1, how they came to know each other, how one ended up falling for the other. So yes, hence boy meets boy. And the story gives you such fuzzy, warm feelings. You see, and I suppose because it's YA, it's a lot easier to remove the carnal desire from what children view as romance or as love, if you get what I'm trying to say. And I feel like Alice did that so well. The story is so pure, it's so heartwarming, it's so beautiful. I absolutely loved the first book, and like I'm saying, it's a graphic novel, and I absolutely love what Alice does with the what's this thing, with the images and the illustrations in these. But if you want more of my thoughts, do head over to that vlog to see what I thought about it, the reading journey, and what I thought about it at the end. However, I'm just going to give you the ratings for these ones. This one was rated 4. My favorite one in the series was book 2, which I ended up rating 4.5 stars. After that, book 3, it didn't quite meet the same standard for me personally as book 2 for me, so I ended up rating this one at 3.8 stars. And then the last book, I think for me, was my least favorite. That was book 4. However, in this final book, I will say to you that I loved the introduction to the relationship between Nick and his mom, and that mother-son relationship in this one was a thing that was a strong thing for me that I could take away. I absolutely also loved the juxtaposition between Nick and his mom's relationship, as well as Charlie and his mom's relationship. I absolutely love the different dynamics in parenting, especially motherhood and mother to son relationships that Alice put out in this last book. However, I did end up rating this one at 3.5 stars. So with that said, I absolutely loved the books I chose for June. I had a joy, I had a fun of a time, and yeah, that brings us to the end of this particular wrap up. Thank you so very much for joining me. If you haven't yet, please do consider pressing that red subscribe button down below and the bell next to it to stay afloat of what happens on this particular channel, which is always going to be basically bookish. And yeah, until next time, I love you very much for choosing me. Bye now.